who have misunderstood, or they don't get, is it good Kiswahili or English? There is nothing I will apologize for, because the clarity of mind I have is very clear. When you say finya, it means to press. And you say rudisha hawa nyumbani, tutawamalizia, is to take good care of them. So I don't see anything wrong, nor do I need to apologize. I've seen the hue and cry of a number of Kenyans and social media activists. Those are just busybody social media activists. I still repeat that any person, the integrity, the sovereignty of a country should and must be respected. Any busybodies, activists who go to other countries to cause problems should be dealt in those countries through the legal procedures and law that are there within those jurisdictions. And I don't know where this habit of Kenyans, busybody activists from Kenya, can policy other countries like Tanzania, Uganda, among others. And that is why I said yesterday, the leadership of those countries, the President Samia Suluhu government and President Museveni's government, have a right to deal with any troublemaker that comes from Kenya. And they should do so, because they are protecting the peace, the cohesion, the unity and tranquility of those nations. We don't have any business as Kenyans to go and benchmark or police any countries across our borders, in as much as they should be busy doing their thing within this country. And I think we are taking for granted the space and freedom that we enjoy in this country. And I heard one of the abductees that was released from Uganda that he will live to appreciate some of these things. Because what you get over the borders is not as good than the freedom. You know, in this country, the Kenya's busybody activists have already gotten away with insults. They have gotten away with undermining, threatening authorities in this country. And we have found it normal. In other countries, it's abnormal. And therefore, those countries should deal firmly with any troublemakers that come from this country. And I want to ask Kenyans who are either in Tanzania, Uganda, and across the country, when you go there, do what you want to do there. Do the business, marry if you can't, be married there if you can't, do business, read. If you are a student, go and do the education there. But for heaven's sake, stop meddling in the internal political affairs of those countries. And those are the principles of reciprocity in international diplomacy. The diplomacy levels are there. If any Kenyan has a problem with how the affairs of those countries are being run, there is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They can petition the parliament. They can petition the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to raise those issues, but they don't need to go there and interfere. You know where I come from? They say we share the sunshine, but we don't share houses. They say in my local language, so that is the principle that people should and must adhere. And I will not retract my statements, because those statements are legal, lawful, moral, and right in any given society. It was just a cautionary statement to the busybody activists. Go to those countries, do business, read, study, marry, get married, do business, bring what you want to bring, but for heaven's sake, don't interfere. And those presidents, the governments of Museveni, the government of Samia Suluhu Hassan, must and should deal with any troublemakers. Because what is important to those countries is their unity. There can be no human rights without peace. There can be no development without peace. Those are, I really wanted to make that issue. And as a leader in this country, I've observed this trend for quite some time. And even in Kenya, if the activists, busybody activists from Uganda or Tanzania, who want to bring chaos and trouble in Kenya, the Kenyan government must deal with them. Because you are not a Kenyan citizen. What business would you be discussing Uganda affairs and you are not a citizen of Uganda? You are not a citizen of Tanzania. Those are what we call bad manners. And those bad manners, I want to thank President Museveni for dealing with those bad manners and Samia Suluhu Hassan. And in fact, also to thank them for releasing those activists to their families. but also to thank them for disciplining. I think as a country we are failing discipline, so it is good that they did discipline them. I hope they will reform, re-engage. They have a right, this right of freedom of association, speech, is enjoined within the Kenyan borders. But when you move to other countries, those rights are no longer there. You became an alien, you became a foreign citizen. Just like the Ugandan activists or Tanzanian activists cannot come to Kenya and start demonstrating. And I think we thank President Museveni for listening to Kenyans and the Kenyan government to release those activists back to home. But we hope, even the other day we had activists who were arrested and released from Tanzania. We hope these lessons they can learn. Let them ply their thread here in Kenya, because the freedom is too much. Let them do that. I think chenye nataka kusema kwa Kiswahili ni ya kwamba yale nilisema jana kule Nandi sitabadilisha. Nilisema kwa njia iliyo wazi na ni kisheria. Na ya kwamba kuna wanaharakati ambao wako na tabia mbaya na mbovu, ambao wanatoka nchi yetu ya Kenya, wanaenda nchi ya Tanzania, wanaenda nchi ya Uganda, wanaenda kuleta purukushani, wanaenda kuleta vita, wanaenda kufanya protest, wanaenda kuingilia masuala ya nchi nyingine. Hiyo ni kukosa heshima, hiyo ni kuharibu kidiplomasia ya nchi yetu ya Kenya na nchi zijazo. Mimi nakubaliana kuna Wakenya ambao wengi wao wameenda kusoma. Kuna wenye wameenda kufanya biashara, kuna wenye wameenda kuolewa, wameoa. Tufanye hizo zote, lakini mambo ya kuingilia siasa za nchi hizo zikome. Na nafikiri wale wanaharakati ambao waliwachiliwa kule Tanzania na wale wamewachiliwa juzi pale Uganda, wamejifunza, wamelearn from those bad manners ambayo walijaribu kuchukua katika nchi hizo. So na hata sisi hatutarajii wanaharakati kutoka Uganda ama Tanzania wakuje Kenya waanze kuingilia siasa za Kenya. Haikubaliki kidiplomasia. Kama unataka kwenda kufanya siasa ya Uganda, wewe enda chukua passport ya citizenship ya Uganda, uraia ya Uganda ama uraia ya Tanzania, wewe enda kaa huko fanya siasa za nchi hizo. Na nafikiri Kenya tumekuwa na bahati kwa sababu tuko na uwazi wa kidemokrasia ya kufanya hii siasa na unajua wanaharakati wa Kenya wamezoea kutusi watu, kuharibu majina, kufanya. Hiyo haipatikani ukishatoka nchi ya Kenya, mambo ni tofauti kule nchi za nchi zingine. So mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba kusema finya ni watu hawaelewi Kiswahili. Finya tu ni kufinya. Kama vile unafinya ugali, unafinya nini? Finya inatumika katika wale wanaelewa Kiswahili. Na kusema wakifika nyumbani tutawamalizia ni kuhakikisha wamerudi nyumbani, wamehakikisha wamefuata kwa njia ya sheria, wapewe matibabu kwa wale ambao wameumizwa, na labda wa record statement. Na ikiwa mtu wako na ile shida na siasa ama au governments are run kule Tanzania na Uganda, walete petition katika bunge la Seneti ama la kitaifa, na waandikie petition serikali ya Kenya kupitia wizara ya masuala ya nchi za kigeni, ndio au register their displeasure at that level. Lakini mambo ya kwenda pale na kuingilia siasa si mzuri. Na sisi kama wa Kenya lazima tukue na heshima katika nchi ambazo tunapakana nao. Na ni rahisi. Hiyo nchi iko na katiba. Kama unaona uko na akili mingi na huko unaweza enda kufanya siasa Uganda, mimi kama wakili nakupatia mawaidha mazuri. Wenda waacha uraia wa Kenya, chukua uraia wa Uganda. Ukishakuwa mraia wa Uganda ama Tanzania, unaweza sasa uliza maswali ambayo inaendelea pale. So there is nothing to apologize for. I know kuna Wakenya ambao wako social media wanaandika mambo pale. Mimi nawaambia tu waendelee kwenda. Hata kuandika social media vile wanaandika Kenya huwezi pata kwa hizo nchi. So in fact wangekuwa wanaandika hiyo maneno kule nchi zingine ingekuwa mambo ingine tofauti. Lakini tu it was a cautionary statement. Wale wanaharakati, tafadhali tuache kuchukua bad manners katika nchi zingine, tuache kuenda kusumbua watu wengine. I think sisi wa Kenya tumezoea kusumbuana. So msumbue hapa Kenya, lakini nchi zingine muachane naye, kwa sababu ile kufinywa ama kushughulikiwa mtapatikana huko si ya kawaida. Unajua huko hakuna kubembelezana. So that is what I wanted to say. We leave it there. That was just a cautionary statement, and as a leader I am well aware of that statement. That statement remains as is, and it was made in good faith. As a leader, I was just advising our people to be our busybody activists to keep off. But the rest of Kenyans who are doing business in Uganda, who are studying, who are married or going to be married, or they want to marry from those countries, the East Africa integration. I think the final point I can say, the only reality is when we have an East Africa political integration process. So since we don't have that, the distinct identities of three countries and others must and should be respected so that we avoid. So that is what I wanted to say. God bless you and have a good afternoon. Thank you very much. Okay, okay. I think what I...
Aren't you worried that statements like that from you will embolden
I think, colleagues of the Fourth Estate, you are aware from the statement of Ministry of Foreign Affairs that all Kenyans that are doing legitimate businesses within those countries are protected. And the High Commission, and there was a statement issued by the government that any Kenyan who is in distress, the High Commission in Uganda and Tanzania have set up call centers, and distress calls are being attended to, and sanctuary places where they can go and shelter. So I think what we are saying in essence is that Kenyans who are rightfully and legally either reading, doing business, or working, or they are married there, or they are being married there, they should and must be respected. The exception to the rule is that any person who goes and interferes in the internal affairs of that country, the legal procedures and the legal process within those jurisdictions should be dealt with just like Kenya. So I agree with you, but of course we appeal to those countries, the Uganda and Tanzania, that they must also be with the spirit of East Africa. Kenyans who do their normal business, work, study, read, and even are married there, or they live there, they must be respected and they must be. And I appeal to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our high commissions in Uganda and Tanzania. You remember when even Bob Njagi and Oyo were handed over, it is the ambassador, I think Mahangi, who received them at the, is it Malaba border? I think we were with Julius those days in Busia. Is it called Malaba or Malaba? Malaba border. Malaba border. So that is what we can say at that point in time. So this statement is made in good faith. We are not saying all Kenyans will be, and will be keen. In case these countries arrest Kenyans on the blanket arrest, as a parliament will rise up against those matters. Thank you very much. God bless you. Have a great lunch.